Hi there. Welcome to the introduction to files. Before we go into the agenda, let's just talk about what a file is all about. A file can be a document or a place where you store data. If you're writing a Java program, you have to save it somewhere, isn't it? So you just put it in a file and you store it in some place, maybe in a directory. The files are recognized by different operating systems in a different way, but let's take the two major operating systems maybe into force and see what files are to them. If you take the Windows operating system, they have a directory structure wherein they have a logical drive. Their hard disk is divided into drives, and these drives are then broken down into logical drives. The logical drive, you can have your directories or folders, and inside the folders you can have other folders or files. But as far as the Linux operating system is concerned, everything is considered to be a file. So there is a root folder which is a root file, and all other files that come underneath follow a file hierarchy system. So whatever you want to store, maybe a document, maybe a spreadsheet, your presentations or slides, or just a text file, all these are stored as files. In this session, how is Java playing a role in handling files? So if you have to handle files, you can create directories, you can create files, then we will be writing into those files. So all this will have to be done by Java, and we will see it in two separate topics called files and file streams. So in this session, we are going to talk about the file or the directory creation, finding a file, finding a directory, file permissions, file names, and some sample programs to go along with it. When you want to create a file, you usually open an application. Like say for example, you want a document. So you open a Word file, you type something and you save it in a particular location. So the location where you save your file is the place where you've created your file, and Java has methods to create files. So for creating a file, you need to give the path name. The path name is defined by the operating system's interface, because files are properties of operating systems. File created in a directory is like, say for example, in a file hierarchy system, you'll always use the / symbol to say that it is the root directory or the parent directory. But however, the file name is only a representation of where the path is, of where your file has been stored. For finding a file, you need to know where it is situated. Maybe as in the Windows operating system, you need the directory name, and then within the directory name there can be other directory names or other file names. So you have to find a particular file inside a directory. Subsequent to, as I said, to a directory, there can be other directories or files, as you can see in this example. In the first example, I have written C Java file1.txt. It means my file1.txt is situated in the C drive under the Java folder. But in the second example, you can see that there is the file2.txt is stored under the C drive, under which you have a folder called Java, and under Java you have another folder called src, and only then you have a file. So for finding a file, the complete path name should be given for the Java compiler to find the file, and that's why I said the operating system interface and our Java program work hand in hand for finding a file. So the complete path name would just suffice to find a file. For finding a directory as to where a file is stored, like suppose I have a file stored in a particular directory, and if I want to know the parent directory as to where the file is stored, then I can always use the file.getParent method to find the parent directory. The file name alone, if it's given, then it just tells you that the file resides in the folder where you've written your program. Like suppose if you've written a program in the Java folder, and in that, while searching for a file, you just give the file name, then the compiler will look in the Java folder for that particular file. Once the path name is given, the Java input.output package will find the directory as to where the file is stored. There are many file permissions. Let's say, for example, I've created a file and I say that as the owner of the file, I have the permission to read, modify, or even execute if it is an executable file or an application file. But if I have to share it with someone and I say he can have only read permissions, so he'll only be able to open the file and read it, but he'll not be able to edit it. So a file read permission is something that disallows another user to modify or execute a file. The file write is a method wherein we allow the user to modify a file. He not only just reads it, but he also modifies it. The file execute is a permission that is given to execute a file, namely an executable file or an application file. You could have seen in many instances when you have what we call logged into an operating system as a user, you might not have the permission to run a program or execute a program. At that point of time, you will get an error, access denied. So you might have to log in as the administrator, and then you might have to execute the program, because in some cases the administrators only have the permissions to execute a program or an application. So these permissions can be executed by Java, especially the file read and the file write. However, the file write, the read and the execute, all these restrictions or rather permissions are called as access permissions of a file. Once the file name, the path are created as an instance, the path name cannot be changed, because you have a file in a particular folder and that path name is there to stay. You cannot change it because you'll go to another file. After having spoken so much about the file, now let's see programs as to how to create a directory or maybe a folder and then see the files in it. So shall we see a program? Well, what you're seeing on the screen is the empty drive D in my PC. In this PC, what I'm showing you is the D drive, and as you can see that they have named, the operating system has named this as the folder. When you install the operating system, it might be called a logical drive. So as of now, they say that this folder is empty, and I'm going to create a folder in this particular drive using a Java program. So let's see a Java program wherein I create a file. As you can see, I have a class called file1 and the public static void main method. Since the class has only one class with the main method, I don't have to create an object for this particular class. And now just see here that I am using the file class. You can recognize it by the capitalized F. So the file and a variable F2, and now I am creating a new file in D drive, and the name of the directory will be welcome. Now I go in and I check if the directory is going to be created, and I say if m2.mkdir, you know mkdir is the make directory method that is being used here. If F2, that is the file, can make a directory in this particular folder, then it will create this folder, and now I am giving a system.out.println that if the folder can be created, I'll give a message that directory has been created. Else, I'll simply say that maybe the directory already exists. Like say for example, if the directory already exists, then it will say already exists. But in some cases, you will not be able to even create a file, create a folder. So under such circumstances, we'll see the circumstances under which our message says that it already exists. Now I'm going to create this folder, so let's compile this program and run it. Now I run this program. It says directory created. Now if you go here, you can find that the directory has been created in the D drive as welcome. Now this folder is empty, this welcome folder is empty. Yes. Now let me try running this program once again. Java file 1, it says it already exists. Now suppose I just try to make some changes to the program. Like suppose I say I create another folder inside this folder by the name hello. Now if f2.mkdir is possible, let's see if Java has the capability of creating a folder inside another folder. So let's try doing this in our program. If it is able to create, it will say directory created, or if it's not able to create, it will just give this error message already exists, or maybe you can say cannot write a directory or any kind of message. So let's try running this program. We'll save this program, and now we'll compile this program once again, and we'll run this program. It says directory created. Now if I go into welcome, I see that there is another folder called hello inside welcome. So this only goes on to prove that Java has the capability to create a folder inside a folder, but the most important point is that you should be in a position to give the correct path name. The next example, I'm just going to check if there is a file. In the file 2, the main method, I have created a file f1 with an object, new file as s of 0 as an array. If the file exists, then this s of 0 is of course this yes, so I have to pass it as a command line argument. So I'll have to give some directory. If it says if f1.exists, or in other words, if the directory or if the file exists, and we have another nested if which says if f1 is directory. If it is a directory, then I am going to introduce a string data array, and I am going to list the files in the directory f1, and I am going to run it through a for loop. I am going to read all the files and pass it on to this particular array called data, and then I am going to print the names of the files. So let's try running this program and see the output. Now I say Java C file2.java. I'll run java file2 and I'll give the path as f:\java1. This is the folder where I'm going to see if there are any files, and as you can see, these are the files that are in the folder java1. So I am able to find the files in this part by using this particular program. Hope you've understood how file works and how you can create a directory and how you can list files in a directory. So till such time we meet again with more programs. It's bye and thank you.